is going on?
That is a cute pupper right there.
Okay, I'll do the intro now so we can keep the doggo in. Hey guys, Suckat here, and we're here with the first Baeclast of Bestiary, joined by a little beast in the bottom corner. And we're going to be trying to keep this as salt-free, but it's probably going to be salty. And since we just had a very big community race and we have the professional casters and second place prize winner here, what has everyone been up to, Mr. Professional Racer RaizQT?
I've been busy racing apparently, and dying in SSFHC as always. I actually rolled 3 Necromancer this league. Everybody was like, "Yo, Raiz, why don't you play something other than Necromancer?" And I was like, "Hell nah." And then I played 3 of them. But now I've got like all my gear and everything. I'm waiting for Ventura to die to go for like another 100 push. Because if he dies, there's nobody else. Like 9 people out of the top 10 were dead at one point.
Yeah.
So there's like a ginormous gap. So if he somehow manages to die at 99, then there's still, it's basically like a full league reset for everybody. But if not, then I'm like playing my Necro, trying to go fast, and prepping up both my Necromancer and my RF Jug for potentially some Uber Elder action on SSF. Probably gonna die. That's why I have 2 characters, you know? If one dies, then the other one can die too, but maybe one of them is gonna go through. And that's pretty much it.
What about you, Uber?
You know, for a second I thought you were gonna meme and say second place was me, but because I always get second place. But I've been playing SSF. They finally fixed SR totems, so my build is actually like working now, and I can actually do red maps finally. So that's good. I guess I swapped place. It's actually pretty good, yeah.
Because you're like RF, and then you have like Scorching Ray totems on top or something?
Yeah, 3 Scorching Ray totems. So the damage actually stacks from them. It was bugged before, so that the Scorching Ray totems, you only got the damage of 1 totem instead of all 3.
Yeah, but you do damage with RF, or do you do it with Scorching
Oh,
Ray?
I clear with RF, and I use the Scorching Ray totems for single target, or if I'm like really scared of a pack.
And you're Hierophant.
Yeah, and I'm Hierophant. Only problem with that character is I have like really bad fizz mitigation, so I'm trying to get a lightning coil, which I vendored a lightning coil thinking, oh, I have a backup one. But it turns out I vendored the backup one before I vendored that one, so...
Feels bad, man.
This reminds me of when Raiz wanted to play Righteous Fire and SSF a few leagues ago after vendoring the Rise of the Phoenix.
Dude, I did the same thing this time around, man. I vendored the Sappho's Frame, then 10 minutes later I die, and I'm like, I'm gonna play RF, but it's not that big of a deal that I vendored the Sappho's Frame, because I had a 6-link Shavs, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go low life RF. And then I realized that going low life RF on SSF and trying to do Uber Elder is like actually a nightmare. So I'm like, okay, let me roll a Jug instead, you know, let's check some gear. Okay, it needs the Sappho's, right? Time to cry forever.
So one time, I've gotten like everything in SSF already, and at this point, I'm probably gonna end up rolling a Necromancer as my next build. I was trying to push originally, but I got hit by the nor'easter, the storm that was going through, and I was fine on day 1 somehow. But day 2, my power just kept going out and out for like several hours, and at that point, I'm like an entire day behind. So.
Right.
At this point, it's going to take Ventura dying before I can actually try and push as well.
Yeah, we gotta chance some sort of curse, because if he dies, it's like almost a full reset. There's like one dude at 95 or something, and he's just casualizing.
He's still ahead of Trade League.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was really gunning for Tholfus to get the rank 1 with the traps, and then he ripped yesterday as well. I'm very sad about that. People who've been watching... He's playing... Okay, so people who watch my stream know I've spent like the last 2 leagues trying to work up his setup. He's using Ice Trap and Fire Trap to clear, and he's using Cremation Trap for bossing. And he played the same build last week. It's like legit. I'm playing the same build and trying to sort of make it work. So I was feeling really bad about my league because I'm also playing SSF and I'm on my 3rd character. And I was telling Uber this other day. I then realized I was watching your stream, Raiz, and went, I've still had less rerolls than Raiz, so it's fine. Because I tried to league start on Spectral Shield Throw, and then Spectral Shield Throw was kind of terrible. And then I was like, okay, I'll make a Hierophant, and I was going to play Freeze Pulse Totems, but I thought, you know what? Freeze Pulse Totems can struggle a little bit with boss damage. I'll be safe and go Scorching Ray Totems and RF because they have such amazing boss damage. Leveled it to 70 before I realized it was bugged. And then I was like, oh, she. So then I re-rolled a Saboteur, and I've just been memeing about on that now. And I'm currently Ice Trap and Shock Nova Trap for clear with Cremation Trap single target. And Cremation Trap single target is like really juicy, like super so good.
Yeah, that's what I did originally on my Hierophant before I respec to RF. Is I went like 4-link Frostbolt Totems in Geoffrey's Crest because the +1 gems. Frostbolt has like insane single target, and I got the second jewel because I muled because I was like, this was directly after I got my power back finally, and I'm like, okay, let's check if my power is stable by just muling another gem or jewel rather. And I just did like Cold of Fire, and then but I didn't take Ancestral Bomb because I wanted to use Cremation for single target because Cremation's single target is like insane. So.
Did you just say Frostbolt Totems have insane single target?
No, I meant Cremation.
Okay. Because I'm like, wait.
Frostbolt Totems have good scaling, so they only like need a 4-link for clearing.
Right.
The other thing which is really good about Cremation is because most boss rooms you enter the arena and it takes a while for the boss to like, you have to move before the boss enrages. All the annoying like pre-setup of Cremation doesn't matter. You just cast the Desecrate, throw your 3 Cremations, then activate the boss, and they just instantly fall over. But anyway, how is the filthy trade league plebs? How about you, Mr. Doggo?
Yo, what's up? Playing one build the entire time. Switched a little bit too early, so the build's really bad. I'm playing the patented RaizQT Auto Bomber. Yeah, I can't really kill a lot of stuff. It's really slow. But I'm having a decent
Hello.
I'm just not saying. I just remember like back in the day, like the reason people call it Auto Bomber is because I think they saw like your YouTube video or something.
Yeah, because back then it was actually my build and it was good, and now you've modified it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Something like that.
Right.
So anyways, the RaizQT build's not going so hot right now. But you know, I'm going for a solo self-found headhunter. You know, trying to farm the doctor cards, or hopefully chance one in a Nemesis Zana modded map. So it's pretty good. I mean, taking the league like super casual, you know.
You're still assassin, right?
Yeah, still doing cosplays and everything. Watcher's Eye action and waiting for Vol Breach to drop below like 100 exalts.
How do you even get Vol Breach now?
It's like one of the div cards. I think it's like some percentage gem or something. It's like super rare.
Oh, I guess like a 23 quality gem, because apparently that beast crafting thing can generate Val gems. I have a whole bunch of like 21 Val gems.
That would be pretty crazy.
Val skills. I have a 21 Val Molten Shell sitting around right now.
Yeah, I think I saw like a 21 Vol Ground Slam or something, but I don't know if that's restricted because like the Vol Breach can't be like level 20 something, right? From people that from people that have asked, it's like it's gonna be either div cards, and someone said that they dropped one inside of a breach, but I don't know if I can believe that. You know, it's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, because before it was just you would just vol portal gems and breach maps, because we haven't got breach and Zana anymore. It's only div cards, so yeah, kind of screwed.
There's like 3 of them, I think, on PoE Trade or something like that. The last time I checked, after 6 days. So, I mean, hey, maybe in a month there'll be some more. It'll be fine if people are still playing.
I'm curious, like, how are they getting that?
What?
The Val Breaches.
It's gotta be one of the gem cards, right? Div cards.
Something.
Because you can't. Here, I know that you can't do it in Breach Lord Zone. Like if you open a, you know, Chayubi's Stone, you can't do it there. I've never seen one drop from a breach, and I think everyone's ran a lot of breaches. Probably haven't seen one drop. So I don't know. It's rough.
17,
maybe the Vol side areas.
17, 20, and 19 quality. I'm gonna have to figure that out.
It must just be from the div cards. I don't know.
It has to be.
Yeah, the one that was on the trade, the first one was 90% quality.
Yeah, but maybe it's just beast crafting, right? Because you can craft
yeah,
15 to 20 quality jump?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably
it's like up to 23, I think. 15, 23 or something.
There's a 15 to 20 quality one, and then there's a corrupted 23 quality one.
Yeah, then it has to be the first one, I guess.
Yeah. Because they're all, it's 17, 19, and 20, so it's probably that.
Makes sense. What about you, Ziggy?
Back to hardcore after a couple leagues of playing SC, playing that Tectonic Juggalog action. Taking my time with it this league, you know, taking it slow. But first time back to hardcore in a couple of leagues, so taking it slow. But also just kind of felt like, you know, taking my time, being methodical about it. You know, playing kind of like we used to play back in the day a bit, taking it slow. And I'm like doing this thing where I'm like working through every single Atlas map before I move on to the next tier. You know, just being like super completionist about that. So I take my time with it, and that seems to pair pretty well with the way this league has worked out as well. So I've actually been having a pretty damn good time with it. And Tectonic Strike is actually like, I don't know, kind of fun for that as well. It's not, it's like one of those rare occasions where ZiggyD releases like a perfectly balanced skill. And so naturally people are like, ah, shit. But it's like,
it's not Sunder.
Fine. Yeah.
Does it feel like something else? Because like I've seen it a little bit on your stream, but I haven't played it at all. Does it feel like Sunder or Grand Slam, or is it just kind of unique in its way?
Yeah, people are always comparing it to Sunder for some reason, but it's actually almost exactly the same as Ground Slam. It feels like old Ground Slam. It's like even the graphic of it looks exactly the same as old Ground Slam.
Oh, I missed Ground Slam.
But
nobody knows what Grand Slam is, so they don't compare it. Like, what?
Pretty much.
I haven't seen Grand Slam in like 3 years, I think.
Yeah, the base damage is super low on it.
Yeah, it is. It's only really there if you want to go a stun setup, but it's stronger than Ground Slam. So, and a little more like the AoEs, I don't know, like a bit more rectangular. So I think that's kind of nicer for the most part. I think Ground Slam only feels good if you get massive mega AoEs and the jewels that expand the angle and everything. But no, it's actually pretty fun. I feel like the skill was a bit of a missed opportunity though, because they made something that just feels so much like Ground Slam. They really could have, with the fissures that come off of it, there's the cracks that come off of it, but they're really short. So all it really does is just makes the AoE slightly bigger. Even when you expend the endurance charges, obviously playing Juggernaut, get plenty of those. It only really just makes it a little bit bigger. What I was hoping was like you'd slam the ground and then these like cracks would wildly skew across like the entire screen, you know, really erratically. So it wouldn't be like reliable screen clear or anything, but it would feel really different and cool and interesting if it was like that. But instead we just kind of got Ground Slam 2.0. But it's, I think, perfectly balanced. It works pretty well. I tried some other skills yesterday to compare, but you know, it seems like in my setup design for this skill, it feels like the best skill choice for that. So that's nice, because a lot of the time when you play some new skill that's not very good, you swap to like a meta skill and you're just like, well, this is 10 times better. And that always feels like a bit of a letdown. So I swapped to Ascendor and I was like, you know what, I actually prefer Tectonic on this. So I was kind of happy with that. Yeah,
this is
a little nicer for bossing.
If you don't like Tectonic Strike all that much, you can just switch to Grand Slam, and then you're gonna like Tectonic Strike a lot more. It's like
I did that, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I like Tectonic more. The only thing that I was kind of like I used, and I was like, this actually feels, you know, pretty competitive or better in this exact setup I'm using. That was Earthquake, so Earthquake feels really nice on the same setup, so that's a pretty easy swap.
I was curious though. I heard that if you multi-strike Tectonic Strike, it uses 3 endurance charges. Like it uses 1 for each strike. Is that actually true?
Yeah, it does. But I like that. You know, I like some sort of excuse to not use multi-strike on every single skill. Like I hate when it's just like, you know, you obviously use this support gem on every single setup. So obviously there were skills that like hard locked you out of using it, like Earthquake and Ice Crash, where it actually doesn't work. But this is like you can use it, but only if you set up specifically for it. Like you get the Helm enchant and you have a shitloads of endurance charge generation. But you know, it's not the optimal choice for it necessarily, which I quite like. So instead, I'm not even rocking faster attacks anymore. I was using that for a while. Ended up swapping for more damage for more reliable stuns. I'm using the newly buffed endurance charge on melee stun, and it feels cool to like, you know, go around with a slower hitting skill that. It does actually more DPS than if I were to swap to attack speed. So
Can we take a moment to just quickly say why didn't they tell us that they buffed that melee stun thing? Because I loved how everyone was like, this skill is terrible, and then everyone was like, ooh, this might actually be quite good with this new support gem.
Because
I just forgot.
Not only does the community not know that that gem exists, but GGG doesn't know either.
That's some random person on the staff buffed it and then didn't tell anyone. Just slipped it in there.
There's one or two things like that. I think it's kind of cool to find those things. It's not like it's game breaking or anything.
Drags.
That happened constantly with summoners, to be honest. It was constantly like big bug fix, but then they just like either skim over it or just don't mention it at all, and then the community finds out like 6 months later.
Like a desecrate trick.
Yeah, or like Beacon was also the same thing, and they like did something with AI at some point that was also not mentioned, but like things were clearly different, working differently. It was like weird stuff.
I like to think there's like one rogue GGG employee who keeps explicitly being told he's not allowed to do things, and he just does it anyway on the sly and doesn't tell anyone. Just like, don't work on AI, make some stupid new skill. He's like, yes, sir. Coding desperately, fitting in all the new bug fixes. But so going into the actual like league mechanics, and I can kind of already predict who is both for and against the new league. How have we been experiencing Bestiary thus far?
Yikes.
I feel like I was talking about this before the podcast. I was like, I have a lot of criticisms of this league, but I'm also having fun with it, and I see the potential, and I know what's going to happen in a podcast like this. I'm like, this is going to be soulcast, and I'm going to play devil's advocate just because I feel like I need to, because everyone's being so salty. And then people are going to be like, nice way to lick GGG's butt, Ziggy.
I'm guessing you didn't see my video then, because I've recently made a video which was like, I actually really like this league, but... And then I listed like everything that went wrong with this league, and like the top comment's like, nice shill. Of course streamers have to like the league, it's the only way they get money.
Yeah. Yeah, so... I think, like, every sane person's kind of... Well, no, not necessarily. I think this league will just straight up not appeal to some people. Like, I think it's going to be very divisive in that. But I think a lot of people are kind of in that state at the moment where they're like, you know, I think there's potential here, and I actually think this is kind of fun, but there's some serious issues with it. And I'm the same. I think there's some very serious issues with it, which I'm definitely happy to discuss.
I think I guess I'm a GGG shill too, yet again, because I don't have any of these problems. I keep hearing about all these problems that people have with like capturing mobs and everything.
Yeah, I don't have problems with that.
I don't have any of these problems. Even from the beginning of the league, like if I used a level 3 net on, you know, a level 40 monster, then I had some problems. But like overall, I don't know. And people mostly complain about summoners, and I've been playing summoner. I've been really enjoying this league. I don't exactly know why. I don't think Bestiary is like super fun. It is pretty rare that you find the mobs and you actually get anything done. And even on SSF, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna get all these things, you know, the deterministic farming. It's like, nope. It's like you don't get shit, you know. I was trying to get Bones of Ore. I managed to find like 3 monkeys for the thing. Each time it gave me some dusk toes or something. It's like,
I've got you beat on that. So before I realized Scorching was bug, and I was trying to get a Rise of the Phoenix and stuff, I found like some pretty good ways of power farming beasts, and I crafted 5 shields, and I've got 5 Chalice of Horrors, and SSF feels good, man.
Dude, I hate you, Tarke. You made my life a living nightmare. Seriously. When I was like almost level 94 and I had no bones and I was running around with 2 specters, because obviously no Vis Mortis either, and everybody's just all day making fun of me, like, nice 2 specter build, dog. And I'm just like, I don't have the bones, guys. Sorry, I didn't find them. And they're like, well, Tarke actually made a video on how to farm it, and I watched your video how you're like, well, just run this zone. And like right before you posted that video, I did that for like an hour straight, and I never found like a single mob, and I'm just like, this is total bullshit. But then every time people were coming into my stream and they were like, why don't you just do what Tarke told you? And I'm like losing my shit here.
Raiz, just for the record, I have a pair of bones, so I mean clearly it works for the good players.
I have 2 pairs now.
Are they max move speed though? Because I have max move speed bones.
I had
12.
I did chance a Vismortis. I'm very proud of it. It was a very smart move on my part. You know, I kept selling my fusings for chance orbs, and then eventually, after 800 chance orbs, I did get the Vismortis. But at that point, I had about 40 fusings. So, you know, but I still got the 6 link. I precision clicked it just right. Hit the 6 link. No problem.
Damn, these SSF skills, I had no idea.
If it makes you feel better, because I'm playing a trap build, by the way, I need a Tinker skin. So of course, whenever like I'm playing and like my viewers watch me picking up like Sadist garbs, there's this one guy like, just chose the Tinker skin, by the way, Tarke. Not sure if you've noticed.
I was about to fuck with you too. I'm just like, oh, you know, I got a Tinker skin from my Beastcraft thing. It's like you constantly hear about that. Oh. A Tinker skin. I wish I could give it to you, Tarke. So, fuck you.
Like such an obscure item for someone to be like, yeah, I just chanced that to like annoy a streamer. Like that's so obscure. Why did you just chance that?
You know what's gonna happen? There's another base on Sadist Garb, isn't there?
Yeah,
Impulsor on it, right?
Impulsor.
Yeah,
that's why I don't mind though, because if I hit Impulsor, I'm not gonna like baby rage. I'll just be like, oh cool, and I'll just make like a EK and quiz or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make an Elementalist.
You can finally play a good build, Tarke. You don't have to run around with Ice Trap.
Yeah. Hey, let's not diss the traps yet. Okay. Also, like, because that's what you need to remember is I'm being extra ethical because not only am I SSF, I'm playing the Beast Trapping League on a Trapper. So like my trapping skills are so next level. Like I am the ultimate net master. You come to my stream, ethical 100% beast trapping you, straight up.
It didn't even occur to me, dear lord.
But so Mr. Cute gotta actually play fast, boy. You know, how are you enjoying capturing beasts?
I mean, there's like two sides. Like first, you can counter the yellows, and the yellow just dies instantly, right? Like it doesn't matter what your build is. You could be playing Tectonic Boy. You could be playing any minion build. You could be playing, you know, spellcast. It doesn't matter. The yellow mob like dies when you look at it, and so what usually happens like I'll see it in the corner, right? And I'll be like, oh, okay, yellow mob coming up. Let's go. And then like I shield charge into it, and it's just like dead. It's like, oh, okay. And then if that doesn't happen, it's like while you're throwing the net, it'll like die. Like, okay, fine. Who cares? Yellow mob's plentiful. Doesn't actually matter. And then for my build, at least, like when I was playing Essence Trainer, the red mobs is like I think totally fair, right, to capture and stuff. But it's just I don't think you don't see enough of them, right? And then I mean now that I have Necromancy nets, it's like it's fine because like if you do encounter one, if you want to, you'll catch it. But overall, it's like it's not really the league for me. People want to like go fast and like, you know, have some rewarding stuff. Like during the mapping it's kind of weird to like have to go to a different zone and then go to the blood altar and then do all that stuff, but maybe it'll get better, who knows.
So that's one of the things I think is actually really cool about this league, and one of the things I think if the league was working properly and was good, then and I'm talking mostly like if the crafting was actually any decent, then that's the one thing I really like about this league is the idea that you run maps for an hour, capture a bunch of beasts while you're doing it, and then you take like a 10-minute break, you go to your bestiary, your whatever, Menagerie, and then you like, you know, pump through some arenas and craft a bunch of sick loot. If it worked like that, I think that'd be awesome. Like to have a little bit of kind of like a break in the mapping action, I think is for a lot of people really good. That sort of variety I think could be really good for the game. And that, you know, I like, you know, it's when you like, I don't know, take a break to like do some crafting for a while. That's kind of fun. You know, it's a fun kind of break in the, you know, the monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. So, you know, if the rewards were there, I think that'd actually be a really cool part of this league. And I see them kind of going for that, execution falling down a bit, but I hope that's something they can fix because I'd like to see that.
Yeah, another thing is like I think this applies to all players, no matter how you're playing. Sometimes you'll see like the monster, and you have to like stop. You gotta get like that nice little flick shot going on, right, with your net. Like you can't just like target an area and it captures like the rarest monster, right? You have to like kind of let the monsters hit you while you're like targeting. If it's like a Snek or like the jumpy spider guy. Or some of those, like they're just like bouncing around, and you're like, did I net the right one? And like while you're wondering if you netted the right one, like to see if you can kill it, like you just take so much damage, or like you'll kill the wrong, like you'll kill it the wrong thing, or you'll net the wrong thing. It's kind of spooky.
See, CuteDog, this is why you play a trapper, because I already need to target the mob I want to hit.
I'd rather uninstall PoE than play trapper.
But
so fun.
So going into the whole beast crafting thing, I think we can probably all agree that while there are some powerful crafts, the like rare crafting is useless. Like it's so bad.
Yeah, I'm happy to rant about that. So like, it's worse than Essence, but more time consuming and more difficult than Essence. That's like it distilled into a tiny bit like that. Like what? That does make any sense.
There's like one good use I can think of for it, and it's making like the un-ID jewelry and stuff, so you can do like un-ID regal recipes, and that's actually pretty nice for SSF because regals are like the gold currency for SSF.
That's so boring.
I'm more happy finding regals than I am finding insults in SSF.
For me, the worst part about it is like, I get to maps with a character and I'm like, okay, I really don't have an amulet. Let me do some beast crafting. Let's utilize these sick game mechanics. And then I go into the thing and I'm like, oh, okay, so this beast is level 20. All right, let's do it. The next one should be higher. And then I do it. And the next one is like 22. Okay, let's do this one. And then I keep going, and after like 5 times, the beasts are still only like level 41 because I caught so many leveling up, and I'm just like, holy shit. Like,
you can select the beast, right? So you don't need to do that.
In the thing?
Yeah.
Okay, Raiz, you know how I say that every Baeclast is teaching Raiz game mechanics? I don't know how this meme started, right? Because you are an expert professional racer.
This shit. Are you kidding me?
By the way, I just won $1,500 in a race.
I duped Elder Opal rings, and after like the 3rd one, people are like, dude, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, what? And then I finally hover over it, and it like says that you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. Just in case anyone else, and for Raiz's benefit as well, you can click on the beasts in the boxes surrounding the crafting window and change them to your liking, and you absolutely should do that because it auto-selects stupid ones all the time. So you know how the red skulls with the 2 stats allow you to craft techniques. Right, if you do another recipe, sometimes it'll fill one of the random 3 slots after the primary beast with one of your legendary beasts, but you like click on that and open up your options of all your beasts that you could use in that slot. So let's say it's like crabs, it uses one of your legendary crabs. Click on it and you could like use a level 20 crab and it won't matter. You can just like fill out that slot with some crappy beast. So not only can you like select the item level, not only can you select the item level by selecting the lead beast to whatever level beasts you have available, you can also make sure that you're optimizing the other parts of the recipe as well to not waste actually valuable beasts.
Yeah, because the reason for that is for like the ones that don't matter for affecting the item level outcome, it just automatically chooses the lowest one. But sometimes you have like something like you don't want to use the Krykic, I guess that's how it's pronounced, Krykic Presence, because those are the ones that give you like the 23 quality gems and like are used in the duplication thing, the split a mod, split an item into 2. So you don't want to use that. So you want to like check that and make sure you're not using that.
And this kind of leads into what I think is a big missed opportunity for this league as well, is that the crafting recipes, the main beast is the only thing that matters, right? It determines what the recipe is and what the item level of the item is. The other beasts don't do anything. They're just there to make the recipe function. And that's, I think, a missed opportunity. A way they could have made the rare crafting a lot better is had what combination you went with the last beats, like whether you put more, like if you put let's say you did a crafting recipe for a rare amulet, and the rare amulet was like, rare amulet with life or whatever. And then the next beast you put in, if you put in like a certain beast or maybe a red skull, then it guarantees a certain base. Or then the one after that guarantees, a mod range or something like that. So giving a lot more control over those recipes could have made it like a more interesting version of Essence, and also created some sort of interesting layer of depth to the actual crafting itself and the selection of which beasts you use and which combinations. That would have made it actually worthwhile.
How did I not know this? You can actually click the boxes and there's like different pets.
Nice.
Kind of important.
Yeah, I would just go to like a random combo. I mean, I only really used it for uniques. Like the amulet example was like completely, whatever. But I don't know. It like doesn't indicate anywhere that you're actually able to click those.
It does have very bad like usability, but to give a more relevant example, since Raiz's example was kind of fail. So when I was playing my original shield throw character, the way that shield throw does damage is based on the armor of the shield.
Wait, it does damage?
Yeah, in theory. In practice, it does damage. So for me, the idea of being able to craft specific like strength shields seemed amazing, right? Because I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So I can select strength shield with life and regularly upgrade my gear while leveling. When you beastcraft, there's no way of guaranteeing what base you're getting and what roll you're getting. So every time I was trying to craft a shield, even though I was using level appropriate mobs, I was getting like level 10 bases with like +5 life. And it's like, cool. I've just used like a level 50 beast and gotten a really trash like level 20 item. This is perfectly usable for me. And then when you eventually...
You know the Carrion Crow Divination card?
Yep.
It's like they turned that into the rare crafting for this league.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I knew about everything, but that's what I meant. I mean, have you guys ever used it for anything other than just like, oh, I need a unique item?
Yes, when I was trying to craft a shield, the example I was just giving, Raiz.
But like in general, like in comparison, when does that really happen in comparison to just crafting a unique item until you're out of beasts? Because that's all I really do with this.
Well, yeah, but if that's the case, then why do we need 70% of the recipes? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be like
95%.
Yeah, true. Because there are so many. It's not only just like create a shield, but it's like create a strength shield with like these 10 mods, create a dex shield. Like they really want you to have so much control, and you have so little control that it makes specific gear crafting like completely useless. It's like, let's say that, you know, you're playing a Sunder build and you're a new player and you see this thing go, oh, I want to craft a new axe, and you even hit like an amazing like tyrannical roll, but you get it on a low base, it's completely worthless. And there's no way of guaranteeing the bases, there's no way of guaranteeing the rolls, and even if you specifically craft like a life roll or a fizz roll, you can get like the lowest roll. I hit a tier 13. I didn't even know a tier 13 life roll existed. But it was like a 4 life pair of boots. And I was like, I didn't know life went that low. Like, what the hell?
I mean, if you...
I'm actually wondering, can you get like the map-specific bases, like marble amulets and stuff from it, though? Because like, I might use it. I might try using it for that.
Is there even a ring recipe? I haven't found that yet.
There's unidentified rings and Ami recipes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've only found the specific amulet one. So just imagine then, Tarke, in your shield example, if the first beast determined the item level of the shield, the second beast determined the base level based on the level of the mob or the type of the mod or something, the third beast determined the the mod level of that mod that you'd specified for that recipe, and then maybe the final beast determined some other aspect, like an additional stat that could roll or something like that. Maybe even making this more interesting, like with Essence, we've got a bunch of unique mods that could only roll with Essences. Maybe the final beast determines, if you put a high level red skull in there, maybe that determines some sort of specific unique bestiary roll. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, like if you used, for example, a beast with like a sub fizz aura and you crafted jewelry, it would have like a high fizz roll on it or something. Like, it's really obvious what they kind of could do with it. And there are so many like cool hidden recipes in the game. It's like, if anyone's ever tried like self-crafting wands, you can, if you had like a flat lightning roll on a wand, one of the easiest way of crafting like a decent Ellie wand is if you collect topaz flasks, you can vendor a blue wand, a flask, and an augment, and you can get like up to tier 2 flat damage rolls. So there's loads of like really cool recipes like that for crafting gear. Then they introduced this whole crafting thing, and it's like a completely different team made it. It's weird, but yeah.
Dude, the thing is, like, if you look at the recipes, like there's miles and miles long pages of, like you said, like Shield of Strength and, like, all that kind of stuff. Most people play the Trade League, right? So in the beginning of the league, like, maybe the first, like, few hours, it's, like, fine. You're like, okay, I might do that. But you can just go on PoE Trade, and you can get something infinitely better for that one alchemy that you're essentially using, right? And so it's just like, okay, so why would I use those? So that's like 90% of the recipes gone. I think like they wanted like some of the other crafts to be more interesting. Like, you know, you have stack of 10 currency, but like anyone who's turned in like Emperor's Luck, it's like, okay, it's kind of exciting, but not really. I mean, Chris has said before, for anyone that doesn't know, that they do want to add more, right, as time goes on. And I mean, like, why not just add some crazy stuff that actually affects gameplay, like from time to time, right? Like, for example, like, why not give a map like 10 mods or some shit, you know, like 12 mods? Like, does that really matter if the cost is like a red beast that you see every like X number of maps, right? So.
But does that feel good if you're gonna only have it like every 15 hours of playtime or something? I feel like that's my biggest problem. Like I don't really have, because again, I don't look at this stuff. I've been racing, so I don't really look at this stuff. But like the thing that immediately strikes me is that I so rarely see these beasts that rather than like crazy actual crafting stuff, I just wish there would be more of them, so it would be like more apparent, you know. That's my like pretty much only big problem with it.
I just had the idea, why like, you know how there's that huge long list of these crafting rares? Why don't they just give the essences for it? Like, why don't they just give essences that guarantee these rolls instead of giving an item?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
It's basically the same thing, except you can control the base at that point.
A short-term fix would basically be to, instead of a lot of these crafted items, so you don't have any control over the base, a short-term fix to like a band-aid, if you will, would be to allow it to just add that, like roll it as a rare but you put the item in. So you get to determine the base by putting the item in.
Yeah, like, because you literally have the window. You could have it so that if you don't put a base in, it gives you a random, and then if you put a base in, it adds whatever to that base. Like, that really shouldn't be that difficult.
A very small selection of them actually do that, like the flask ones and stuff, but most of them create, which is a big problem with, you know, the random bases.
Yeah. I mean, other than that...
I'll go.
Oh. Other than that, I was like, the rare crafting is definitely a problem, but like, other than the uniques, I found a lot of use in it and using it for prophecy. Like, if you're hunting for specific prophecies for like upgrading uniques, it's like actually really good.
Yep.
Yeah, like I was gonna say that whatever does happen with it, because CuteDog's argument will always be corrective or what someone from just going on PvE trade. But when you have a podcast with 3 people on it playing SSF and they're like, yeah, no, the crafting system's terrible. Like, if anyone's going to use it, it would be us, and it's not even good for us.
SSF is the lowest bar for crafting additions to the game.
Yeah.
if it does something, it's probably going to be useful for SSF. But yeah.
So something definitely does sort of need to change there. And like going into the whole spawn rate thing. So have any of us found legendary beasts? Because I know I haven't. Like not the red ones, like the spirit beasts ones.
Oh yeah.
Nope. That's the ones that gives you the recipe to craft the portal, right?
Yeah.
I've got 2.
Are they only spawning in high level maps, or because I haven't seen any yet?
I think I'm
kind of slow.
When I was going through the thing just now, I saw that I can make 2 portals.
Whoa.
So,
yeah, I think I have
some
a
Sasquatch guy and some other dude.
Sasquatch.
Sakawa.
I don't know what his name is.
I call him Sacagawea.
There you go, that one.
Yeah, and there's the crab one, Chrysian or whatever.
Cresciani.
Don't know that.
That one's like apparently super dangerous. Like it hits so hard. Every single video I've seen doing it that doesn't have like a billion fizz mitigation, aka Jug, which is basically all of them. It's been like everybody's almost died, if not died. So I've been avoiding that one.
So, CuteDog, you say you definitely haven't found one yet.
Nope. I'm actually checking my Menagerie right now. I've been doing mostly burial chambers, and you know, yellow map tier 8, and I do not have any spirit beast spawns.
So yeah, I think if CuteDog doesn't have one, and then it's like Uber's got like 2 and Raiz has got 1, it's kind of just like the lich problem but worse. Like, do you think they kind of do that on purpose, or they purposely just introduce a new boss and make it so ridiculously rare just because? I don't know.
Actually, quick note that I have to say. Sometimes I don't capture all the red beasts I come across. So actually, like, My dad is actually like skewed. You shouldn't listen to
Okay,
him.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
I
was gonna
catch
say
everything. I've caught everything. I don't think I missed the red beast so far.
And you have 2?
Yeah, and I have 2. Well, at least 2. I don't know. Apparently, you can click on the thing and see if you've got more. I just saw that I can make 2 portals, but maybe I've got more. I don't know.
I've probably killed 1 or 2 because like they were doing some like really crazy stuff and I was taking a crap ton of damage and I'm like, and they have proximity shield. I'm like, I have to kill this thing again to open the portal. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna capture it. Why bother?
Yeah, about the like random boss thing, I thought we kind of have learned this lesson even as recently as Abyss, where people really don't seem to like just purely random gated like endgame bosses for these leagues. So like the liches just being pure RNG. The ones that have been really successful and people have really liked and engaged with have been the ones that give you some sort of incremental progress to them, like you know, getting your breach fragments. Every time you open a breach, you get some fragments, so you're making some progress. So it's still all RNG. Like the entire game is RNG. It's not like RNG is the problem. It's just having it be just pure RNG without any feeling of progression. And it's the same problem with this league. You know, you have nothing until you finally randomly encounter one of the beasts that you can open a portal with, and I think that seems to be an issue.
And I think you can only store 1, maybe more. It doesn't, like, on every single one, it shows me, like, different slots for things. But with this one, it only shows 1. I don't know if you can store
It's
either
probably
more.
because you only have, because you only have 1 of them, and that's the only thing that works for that recipe. So you should be able to get as many as you want.
Okay.
The limit's still 5 on each, like, type of beast, right?
That's also one thing, just quickly. It's really frustrating that there's no, like, nothing tells you that you've, like, reached your cap. Because someone was saying to me once, like, oh, like, will it tell me if I've got too many rowers? Because I don't want to be in a case where I'm capturing beasts and just replacing my old ones. Is that wasteful or something? And it's like, no, there's no interface at all telling you, like, you've reached your limit. I'm sure that most people don't even know that there is a limit to the amount of beasts that you have.
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, with each beast type, you can store, like, by default, I think it's 5 of a certain one. And then any more you capture, it just replaces the lowest level one you have. And I sent a question to Bex about it saying, what's, like, does it do this intelligently? Like how Uber said, if you have a specific mod which is valuable and you capture a new crab or something, will it know that's a valuable nod and not to replace it? And the answer to that is almost definitely no. Just because, yeah, they probably don't have this smart system.
Chat laughed at the end. They didn't know about the
Monka S. It's like counterintuitive because like if you play a day, you'll have hundreds of nets, right? Like literally hundreds. At least of like the reinforced steel ones, tier 9s. And so like a average player is like, oh, I have 200 nets. I must go out and like just throw these all over the place. But nope.
So you do really want to go to your menagerie every hour or so and kind of clear it out. Then
and not only that though, if you're trying to like complete the Pokedex for challenges, there are some beasts that you can capture which like will never be rares. They'll just be like random whites and blues and whatever. So sometimes I'm in the situation where like, oh, I'm trying to get my challenges, so I see a random beast that I haven't captured yet, and then me capturing this random shitty white mob which I can't use in crafting will replace a rare mob that could be used in crafting. So yeah, it's kind of
that happened.
monk-ass.
Yeah, it was
I don't
funny
think that...
with the dupes. With the dupes, it was the funniest thing because you like needed a specific one, and then people were like farming them over and over and over, and they were like, "I gotta dupe as much as possible." Well, it works, right? But then like they had a limit of 5, so no matter how much they farmed, it just replaced them. That was really funny, I thought.
I think the limit of 5 only applies to each specific mob, not like, oh, you can only have 5 goatmen.
Yeah, it's like I think it's what Uber said, yeah.
So you don't really run into it that often, especially with if you're capturing a new white that you didn't have before. Well, it's probably not. It's new, so you're not replacing anything. I don't think.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Still, it would be nice if there was some kind of, because like people say it'd be nice if you could track beasts, and that obviously would be good. But I think there definitely should be a system saying, "Hey, you've reached your limit," because no one really knows
you can't tell, like, how the hell are you supposed to track, like, each one of these? Like,
doesn't the beast crafting menu have like a 2 out of 5 thing in it from memory? I don't have the game open.
Yeah, but there's like a million of them, so it's
there's quite a bit.
It takes a long time to go
Not
through
ideal,
all of
but
them.
there's something at least.
Yeah,
no,
it
does
tells
have
you. Like, I have like 8 web spiders. What?
Well,
I don't know if it's separate for rares and normal mobs either. Like, if a normal mob can replace a rare if you capture it. That would really
reached
suck.
your limit, stupid exile.
Yeah.
My heart pops out and tells you.
Because it's like, people are saying this chat as well, it's like, yeah, Raiz was kind of stupid for not knowing that thing earlier, but it's like, if we don't know it, and this is like our job in quotation marks, how is like random, hi, I've played Diablo 2 for 3 hours meant to work this shit out? You know?
I mean, actually, well, I think that's our fault, because it's like,
well, that's your fault. I knew it, but...
No, it's like, we want to go fast, we want to be optimal, right? And do you really, like, go over this stuff? You just, like, want to play the video game, right? You don't want to be sitting in your shit and just reading your Pokedex all day and where you've got what. Like, I can bet that most people haven't even visited the Menagerie. They don't even know that you can go down there and, like, look at the things, because they just don't care, you know? Or that you can open up your Pokedex, and that's just... I mean, that's really awful, but at the same time, I guess it's really cool for the people who do care and do want to look at their limits and everything. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's like, so even with the Menagerie itself, the Menagerie is actually really cool. So when you go into it, there are all these like side rooms, and you can like walk through and see your full collection. There's no reason to ever do it. And also, one of my viewers he thought he got trapped. He was like, how do I leave? Like, how do I exit? So yeah, they're definitely ignoring the lack of crafting being kind of good, and the fact that the system doesn't really explain itself to you. It's just kind of, it's, while I really do like this league, and so I made a video recently saying I really like this league, and I think one of the things, like how Z was saying, it does have a lot of potential, and it's nice to kind of go back to a mechanic-based league, because we've had so many leagues of mobs slowly spawn. But it's very hard to realistically say what they did right. Like, if I had to say what part of this league feels good to you, like, it's really hard, other than I kind of get rewarded for playing slower.
I think they did a lot right conceptually, but execution was the problem.
Exactly.
It feels like with another month of work, it would have actually been an amazing league, and maybe it will be in a month's time, and I think this will go in the core game, and I think hopefully by that point, it will actually be pretty damn good. But I think even saying that, though, even if this league was released perfectly, it was always going to be a divisive league. Some people would just be like, yeah, I'm not going to engage with that at all.
But that's the thing. I feel like this is a concept that they just made so that they will put it into the league, and it's something that they will work upon, and they don't necessarily jump to like fix it immediately, because they know that this... I mean, would they really give up on such a huge system? I mean... You can look at it however you want, if it's unfinished and whatnot, but it's a really big system, and it definitely is meant to accomplish like a really big part of the game. It doesn't work right now, but I think from the release they intended to put it into the core game to serve.
Oh, this is definitely going core. I would be shocked if this did not go core. Someone even said in my chat, something which I found quite interesting, is like, it has to go core. It has so much voice acting. And I thought, oh, that's actually a really interesting thing to think about it, because voice acting is expensive. Like, voice acting costs a lot of money. So even though it was like pretty obvious that they spent all the time making all the different like menagerie zones and making all the pretty artwork and journals, yeah, the guy has like loads of lines of dialogue. And I know Kadiro had a lot, and that didn't go core, but this is definitely, in my opinion, a much more interesting system than Prophecy. Like, it feels a lot more tactile. It makes more sense to me than Prophecy. So
everything's a more interesting system than Prophecy.
Yeah. So like, if anything would go core, I'm hoping this would go core with polish. But one thing I am curious about, so it hasn't been enabled yet, but they're going to add beast trading. And I've asked the question a few times and never gotten a straight answer back. How do you think beast trading will work with the beast limit? Because there's currently the beast limit. Could we turn all of our beasts into orbs to then never reach the limit?
That would be interesting.
For sure.
Depends how many.
Absolutely.
It depends how rare they are, too. Like, how rare the orbs are. But yeah, you could probably do that.
I think you'll be able to buy them from the vendor, if I recall correctly. So they're not going to be a case of rarity so much as cost.
Wait, so now you're gonna be able to take like all these hundreds of different brown monkeys and stuff, and just turn them into orbs and trade them to people?
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be no reason to for like 90% of beasts though. It'll only be like the rare red skulls and stuff that people and the creation ones and all that people will actually bother to turn it into an item because you know maybe it costs like a chaos from Ironheart or something. People are gonna just waste that to do some random white monkey.
It costs Alex.
Need value.
It costs Alex, so Reddit just complains.
Really think about like essences and stuff, and essences are 1 chaos, and people still kill the mobs and still post the items, and it's still a nightmare to buy it. So if it's like as specific as this, except there's like 1 million of them, I don't know. I can totally see somebody just sitting there and yeah, crafting some monkeys all day and posting them on trade. You know. Price fixing and all
it doesn't hurt anyone if someone does that though.
I think the main issue with that though is that so when beast trading gets enabled, let's assume that I'm just like the average person playing Trade League. I find the red beast, I capture the red beast. I don't want to leave that red beast in my menagerie. I want to turn it into an orb as quickly as possible so I can list it in my stash. And that I think is kind of awkward because you might be in the situation where let's say that they do buff the spawn rate, because currently the spawn rate's too low, so you're encountering the red beast really regularly. Every, like, few maps, you need to go to your menagerie, find the correct beast that you want, turn it into an orb, put it into your stash, go back to maps, every few maps, stop, go back to your menagerie, find the beast you want, turn it into orb, list it in your stash. Like, essence trading is one of the most frustrating things in the world, and this is potentially a much worse version of essence trading.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Tarke, also, real quick, what are we watching? Can you like?
Oh yeah, sorry. I had your like race run in the background. I'll fix that. Give me a second.
I'm like watching my own stream and messing around my folders and stuff. Somebody's just watching. They're like, "What the fuck is this?" The other race was cool. I think the other race you can put on. You know, I was in the lead for the most part of that. So
yeah. I'm working on it. Right, continue amongst yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to see that. Essence crafting is already not a nightmare. I'm not even... I guess it's just because it's so limited, so you have to buy like one essence. It's not as accessible. Maybe this would be more accessible because people really wouldn't bother unless they have like multiple, you know? Or maybe ZiggyD is going to make a limit, like a global limit, and then if you exceed that global limit, they're going to have to turn the things into orbs, so that they have to post them, and therefore people will be able to buy them in bulk or something stupid like that. I mean, that would be terrifying, but yeah.
Because it's like beast type and like modifier type and beast level, there's going to be like no easy standard way of pricing this shit. It's not going to be just like look up the price of any of this stuff. It's going to be Wild West in terms of pricing that stuff.
Are you ready? Okay, CuteDog, close your eyes. I want you to picture the scene. You're streaming Path of Exile. You're closed. In a strand map. Someone whispers you, "Can you help me price fix my level 72 white monkey of sub-fizz aura?"
I mean, like, if the values are there, I mean, you'll do it, right? Like, no matter, like, spending the 30 seconds to go into your menagerie and get that orb and then put it on trade, like, you know, what is it, Avian Wretches and then the Spirit Beast Portal guys, like, sure, I'll do that. But, you know how, like Chris said, they didn't put it in for a week because they wanted the community to get, like, a general sense of, like, value, rarity, all that stuff. So I don't think it'll be that bad, right? Like, most of the rare ones, there'll be, like, hundreds of them, hopefully, if people are still playing. But, like, the like, juicy, unique ones, you know, Headhunter Belt, certain flasks, maybe some Spirit Beast zones, like, those will be just a few C, maybe. But the big ones will have probably set values after the first day or so. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue.
I think people will, like, mostly use it for... Like, the people that don't care about challenges or getting 40 out of 40 are just going to grab whatever ones that spawn a portal and then just sell that, and that's going to be the ones that have the most value to them.
Yeah, but that's confusing as hell too. Like, you know how whenever you drop an item or something and your stream freaks out and they're like, "Oh my God, you dropped that item." Apparently, I have 2 of these super rare things, and I didn't even know that I had them, and nobody ever mentioned anything. Like, I don't even. How do you tell that they're like the super special ones? Even do they have a specific name or?
Immediate, you just kind of have to learn the mods. It's one of those things, but immediacy of like feedback when you earn things in these games is pretty damn important. So the league definitely doesn't have that. It's traded that in favor of, like I said, taking that break to go craft stuff for a while. So I don't know. I don't really like the addition of being able to trade these beasts. I don't find that to be. I find that to be more problems than I think this is going to add, like, bring to the league.
I think that it's going to. You've taken a mechanic which is already pretty confusing, and then you've added a whole extra layer to it. Because it's one thing to kind of be like, oh, I've captured a red beast equals a good craft. Like, that's kind of what I do. I don't know, like, oh, I captured a red crab, that equals this unique. It's like, I'm playing SSF, I just captured a bunch of red beasts, I'll go back to my Menagerie, and I'll see what I can get. So the idea of like, oh, I just happened to capture just a random rare beast which happened to have this name on it, and people are complaining that they're already killing them without seeing them. So it's going to be a really messy system. And also on that, so with this whole like Necronet thing, one thing which really irritated me was that we haven't gotten beast crafting enabled yet, and they polled the community on if we should be able to capture dead nets, capture dead beasts with nets before they've enabled the trading of beasts, and while some recipes weren't even enabled. So you have this weird thing where, like, we haven't actually really got a set value of beasts set yet in the community, and now we're introducing ways of capturing dead ones. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a whole other issue. The pulling the community, leaving, balance changes, things like that to the community, I think is, we could talk for a while on that, but...
I mean, it's on the topic, so we've got to talk about that
for a while.
We'll
talk later, but I mean, the capture of the dead beast, I think it's great. I know Raiz doesn't really like it. I was watching the stream for a while talking about, but I think that was more of an issue of, like, there's, like, other things that need to be done. I mean, I think capturing dead beasts, like, adding that into the game doesn't detract from the game, right?
No, I agree. Just so we're clear, like, I think it's a lame concept, but I don't have anything against it if people want to do it and go for it. It's just kind of, you're...
I don't think it detracts from gameplay, is what I'm trying to say.
Roadkill league, right? It's like...
My concern for the dead nets is that the league will get to a point where we'll just switch entirely to dead nets, and we'll stop using the regular mechanic. So I think it actually has the potential to detract from the league. People always take the easiest route. You can always say, well, just don't use it, but that's not how humanity works. So, like, I feel like when they said rare and people voted for rare, I was like, okay, I voted no personally, but rare is okay. But then it turns out the thaumaturgicals trade to them 3-for-1. Yeah. So they kind of undermined the whole rare aspect of that, because people have like literally 300 thaumaturgical nets in their chest stash.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, I know that conceptually, that's the one thing, like, this league kind of did nail. Conceptually, it's really cool, but conceptually, dead nets is stupid as hell. So it's kind of like, it's already kind of weird as a system. It's like, okay, so you're out in the wilds, you see a rare beast, you put it to 1 HP, this dude turns up, and then puts it into a zoo. You then fight it into the zoo to get the craft. Now, it's you find you capture a beast, you kill the beast, he brings the beast back to life to then send it to the zoo to then kill it in the zoo. And if you can capture dead beasts, then why can't you always capture dead beasts? It's kind of like, it seems really like wishy-washy on that front. And then with the whole thing of you can't necro shattered beasts, and most builds shatter or have like bleed explosion or flesh offering or volatile dead, and it's like, what the fuck,
They're apparently fixing that though.
Yeah, I mean, thematically, the guy does that blood magic when he captures any beast, right? He like puts into like a ball of blood and then transports it. So I can see the lore working out in terms of you kill the beast and he revives it, right? With some special.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but for me, it's kind of like, if you want people to capture dead beasts, just let us capture everything dead. Like, that's the thing. It's just like, I am Einhar. I have my blood magic spells, but I require your net to bring this thing back to life to cast my blood magic. It's just dumb. Like, it's really dumb. But so okay, I voted no. Ziggy voted no. Out of interest, like, how did other people vote?
I voted yes.
I didn't vote, but I would have voted no.
The only like use I see for them is like there's a single mod again, the Krykic Presence one. Those are single mod ones that are useful for like making quality gems or whatever, or the split mod. But they're single mods, so they die really fast. Whereas the red ones, you have plenty of opportunity to catch those. So that's like the only use I really see in the Necronets.
Alternatively,
I've used it like once or twice so far. One was just on hollow ground because I forgot. I'm like, oh wait, I should be able to capture this boss, and I need that for the challenge. So I'll just do that because it's hollow ground, and like the unique maps are pretty rare now because, you know, Encroaching Darkness, I'm pretty sure, is nerfed.
I would. So
I was gonna say,
just real quick as like a concept, because to me the thing about the vote and the reason partially why I didn't vote was because it doesn't really affect me and I don't really care that much. You know, I am against it, but like whatever if it goes through, right? And then ended up going through. I just don't. If people have a problem with like capturing mobs, I don't see it as like every time you have a big problem to capture mobs, right? And so why not just fix the issue of like never seeing mobs by just doubling the amount of mobs, and then half of the time you're not gonna get the mob, and then the other half you will get the mob, and this way it works. It might work in a similar way to this. Or are there people who just never capture mobs and they only ever use the necromantic nets?
Or maybe there are people that voted yes because they thought they could make profit off of it. Selling the necromancy nets.
Say what you were going to say, Ziggy, then we can like break this bit down just so we don't go completely off track for you.
I agree with the you know, doubling or something of the spawn rate, but I also think, just so it's said, the yellow mobs should be tougher. You know, I feel like they should be more impactful as well, because most of their recipes are garbage, but that's a separate thing we've already talked about. But I'd like to see them actually be a fight too, because one thing I really like about this league that I think they did right is giving us, and I know you like this, Raiz, from Grim Dawn days, but monsters that fight back. Oh,
yes.
Actually fight back, the Red Skulls.
Dude, mobs been fighting back. I don't know if that's subject list, but mob's been fighting back a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I like to see that. So I'd like to see the yellows as well. We keep talking about, you know, how we're just instantly obliterating these yellows, and rather than adding dead nets to fix that, I would have preferred that they just become, you know, substantial.
Yeah.
But what about the extreme case where, you know, we've talked about how many portals we have, right, in our playtime, and you accidentally kill one of these, you know, very rare portal beasts, right? Does that feel good to be like, oh, well, you know, I should have been more careful? Or is it better to be like, okay, we'll have this necromancy net for that? I think in those situations, you should definitely be allowed to, you know, recoup your mistake. And
I think there's better solutions though. Like, so I voted no, not because I was against the nets, but because I was against that as a solution. I voted no because I figured if it didn't go through, they'd be forced into coming up with a better solution. And that's the reason why I don't like the whole polling thing, where it's just select one of 3 answers with no follow-up. But like one thing which seemed really obvious to me was, if you kill a beast, why doesn't it become like sated, and it just becomes like, I am defeated for a few seconds and doesn't do anything? Because then it's like, oh, you fucked up netting it, you then net it. Solved. Like, isn't that a much cleaner fix than introducing this
that's
weird
basically
thing?
the same thing for me, that I think they could have just came up with something more fun. But people were acting like they literally could not capture the mobs. Like, their build completely prevented it, and there was no other way, no matter what.
Before the 3-second fix, it was actually really painful. But after that, I feel like there's like almost no problem with the whole thing, unless you kind of fuck up and make a mistake.
or you off-screen really hard, but like, I don't know. That's such a small part of the community, I feel like.
I mean, if you're off-screening it, like, why would you even care about it at that point? Why don't you just go full clear speed, and then you're probably just gonna make more off of the maps itself. Why even bother with?
I mean, do you think that's a good mindset though? Like, okay, why? Like, saying like, why don't you just ignore a league mechanic, or like, why don't you just like sacrifice the league mechanic for, you know, X clear speed? I don't think that's the right way to think about it. I mean, like, yeah, you could do that, and like, you know, economically you'll make, you know, the same amount as if you had that beast. But yeah, I just think like they definitely could have made it more fun. I have a very glowy brain idea, and that is, what if? All right, get ready for it, guys. Your brain's gonna expand. What if, yeah, Inspired Learning and Headhunter could capture the red text underneath the beasts? So you get a Vulture Flyby, you can get Roa Stampede, you can get... Those are the only two I can think of that are like pretty juicy.
I mean, you shouldn't get that from Headhunter, you should get that from Netting Beast. Like, people have said that a few times.
I would play until the last day of League if I could get Roa Stampede.
Like, people have said that what should happen is, like, when you capture a beast, you gain its mods for a few seconds. Like, that seems way cooler to me, because then it rewards you for engaging in the mechanic. But I think also...
That should have been Bestiary unique, for sure.
Yeah, but not only that, it's kind of... I think the reason why I kind of like this league, and I hated Prophecy, and I used to say the same thing that CuteDog did, is like, what's the point of designing a league where people just ignore the league? But they haven't designed a league, though. We all agree they've designed something which is clearly going core. So if you look at it from that point of view, yeah, if you clear so quickly you can't capture beasts, who cares? That'd be like the same argument of me saying, like, yeah, but CuteDog, you don't do prophecies, or like, you don't farm Uberlab. Like, if you think about it from that point of view, then it doesn't really matter that some people can't capture it, because it's basically just prophecy. They're just adding something to the core game. The problem is, instead of adding this to the core game and then bringing out a league, is they've sold it as a league mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% optional, and that's fine. Just in the context of a new league, people are disappointed that, you know, it's something that they don't want to engage with. Later on, people won't care that it's something they won't want to engage with, because they just won't. But right now, it's disappointing. And that's also the problem with, you know, they laid groundwork for something that I think is going to be really cool. I can't wait to play Bestiary next league, but it's just disappointing at the moment, you know, that it's not there yet. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, this is like basically an expansion, or at least I think of it kind of like, it seems like a kind of like half-finished expansion, far more so than a half-finished league.
I agree, and I think, what if they implemented some stuff that's like assets that they spent this much time developing? Because it's pretty obvious from anyone that's like walked through the Menagerie or seen the beast and their abilities. It's like, wow, that's cool, right? Like, there was time, money devoted to this. What if they just took, one thing I've noticed is, what if they just took like the beast abilities and made them into skill gems? All right, so hear me out. You have Summon Vulture Guardian skill gem, and you have Roa Stampede skill gem. You start with one line of Roas. As it levels up, you get 4 rows of Roas. And also in Act 10, there's a new quest. I don't know if you guys have done it. What's her name? Viticia or whatever. She has a pretty sweet mini Katava AoE Stormburst thingy.
Cool.
Give us that thing. That could be a skill. That's like 3 new skill gems I just came up with for free. Another one, the snack. You can get a.
Gonna code them for free.
Yeah, you got Aura.
You're gonna like this a lot more. CuteDog. What if they just straight up ripped off like the divination thing from Grim Dawn, and now you've got all these beasts, and you just like, you have a skill tree, but on top of it you have like beast tree that you also have to organize, and all of these things are procs the same way.
I love my procs.
It's like a cast on crit, like
that'd be
everything.
sick.
Just rip it off.
I mean, like, and then for summoners, imagine being able to summon the unique looking beasts, like the new lynxes and like the Sacagawea and Cretchiani, the crab. And also, what if you could morph Sneck Speed Aura, where for 4 seconds at a time, if you crit recently, you can transform into Sneck, and, you know, This is a big ideas going on. Lots of skill gems in the works.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is it's like, imagine if there was a system where you could somehow like fight these, like, almost imagine like beast gods, and then you could take the essence of the beast god and they could maybe have like a window and you could select the powers. You could call it like Pantheon or something. Yeah, that'd be fucking badass, dude. Put some really cool abilities into it.
In theory.
Yeah, in theory. That sounds like a really interesting game mechanic. But, okay, so before we move on to some other things, I guess we should probably talk about the whole dupe thing, since we have the creator of the Opal rings here. CuteDog, as someone who plays the Trade League, and after Chris saying that it didn't really affect it, like 10 things were made, do you think the dupes were kind of a big deal? Obviously it was an issue, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously after reading Chris's post, it's like, haha! You know, people who like freaked out. I was like, reset the league! RaizQT has Opal rings. Like, okay. I think like it's reasonable. You have to understand why people are mad and stuff. Like they think people are getting huge advantage over everyone else, and that never feels good, right? But I mean, like I woke up, right, and then people were like, "What do you think about the dupes?" I was like, "Oh my god, real dupes!" And I thought they were talking about like the missing go meme from before, but I like looked on the Reddit, and there's like some magma orb Hellman chance being duped, and like. I mean, come on, playing Magma Orb, you're already, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, fine. There's like, if you're lab farming, you might be that one guy who's lab farming, and it's like, oh no, but like you didn't get any good helmet chance anyways, right? Like on average. So, like it affects like 0.01% of people, and then Chris once again comes out and states that affects basically nothing. I mean, look, you just like play the game, you try to have some fun in this game, and don't worry too much what other people are doing, right? Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, you say that now until I move all my Opal rings to the Trade League. I'm gonna fuck your shit up.
All, what, 3 of them or something? How many do you actually have?
150.
The number gets bigger every time you say it.
Yeah, I know. Because I'm constantly crafting. GGG like left it open for me, so when nobody's looking, I'm just making them day and night, you know? I mean,
that was one thing that I liked, though, quickly, just to interrupt you, is because I was watching your stream when you did it, and there was a brief moment you're like, holy shit, this is worth so much money. But then you realized that if you ever sold a ring, someone else could dupe it. Like, it was like watching a kid who'd been told that he could print gold, but if he gave the gold to anyone, it would be worthless. He's like, look how rich I am! I can't sell any of it, but I'm worth so much money right now.
Yeah, I'm selling it to my friends on SSF, you know? Katarina got one, Haku got one. Elrion is really happy about his ring, he's wearing 2 of them. Super exciting stuff.
Oh god.
Best friends now, you know?
Your SSF buddies. So lonely.
That's what it is.
Reset the league, Raiz has ruined the SSF economy.
Dude, I love that. I almost, when people started crying, like, reset the league, and at that point, like, I was completely in the dumpster on the ladder. So everybody's like, reset the league. I'm like, you know what? I can make like 10 more of these. Maybe I should look into it. maybe if I do it enough, GGG will listen, you know? But I didn't. So yeah, to anybody that doesn't know, I ended up making 4. I made 2. Then I realized that it's not intended. So naturally, I made 2 more just to test it. I made a forum post and then, you know, shared with my buddies. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and in
There's
about,
what,
like a month, 2 months time, when you're done with SSF and you go into Trade League, you know, there'll be a whole 4 rings entering the hardcore trade economy.
That hardcore trade economy.
Dude, I'm talking to RMT companies right now, you know? I'm gonna get that shit nice and flowing. So if you guys see a sudden drop in price for the RMT stuff, all me, you know? I've released the rings.
So that's how the lightning coil thing happened.
Elrion, I gave one to Elrion, he's duping them, alright? You can't trace it back to me anymore.
Hired him to dupe them for you. He's laundering your money.
He's destroyed the original, so there's no proof. I'm behind an Elrion VPN. No problem.
7 Elrian VPNs. Come at me, bro.
So, going from the whole duping thing, which was clearly just a lack of testing, and Chris saying that they're going to be doing some, I have the quote here, we're making some pretty big changes to how we develop content, so that the important aspects of the league have a safety buffer of several weeks of dedicated testing in the future. How do we feel about this, like, obvious lack of testing? What would you improve? And obviously, Ziggy, you've probably got the best idea of how stuff operates down there. Like, what went wrong? Because it's clearly just, like, even with the initial change, which happened with nets going into the league, where they changed how net mechanics work because they were worried that there was going to be an exploit, but no one realized this is the same game which has 20% cull. Like, what? Like, how did that even happen? Do you think?
Okay, so here's what's happening. There's a drive to do bigger and better every time. It's what people want. It's what people expect, and it's what you want to deliver as a company, and it's how you keep making money. So that's part one. Part two is they did try to do that. They went pretty ambitious with this. They wanted to try something different that they hadn't done. They could have done Breach 3.0. People would be happy, but they wanted to do something pretty different here. And they went pretty mega ambitious on it and developed a whole bunch of shit. Part three was Christmas holidays. They had, like, no one there. Part four is they just went back-to-back expansions and had, like, no time, and we're still ironing out the kinks on that. So half the team was dedicated to that. So they were basically, in short, fucked for time and being really ambitious with what they were trying to do. So as I said, though, I think they're like a month behind on a lot of this stuff.
Also, am I right? Didn't they say that the next league is also going to be another expansion, or am I making that up?
That's how it goes normally.
Yeah, it has to be, no? It's every 6 months. Every 2 leagues they make a thing. Every second.
Normally.
And that's one thing which really worries me, is the fact that, like, they're clearly, like, behind on testing, and it was so obvious on this league, and then, like, most of the team is probably working on the next expansion and then the next league. So that's a little bit monk-ass, I think.
I'm waiting for the day where finally GGG goes, we have listened to Reddit, and the next league only content will be buffed Ground Slam and buffed Elemental Hit, and you can play Glacial Hammer now, and we'll see how
people will actually write. You know,
it's gonna be the best shit on the planet.
But they'll be like, "This is the most boring, disappointing new league of all time. Where's the excitement? Where's the new content?" And then, like, you know,
it's like
we get 10% of the numbers we normally get. It's like the end of a league on day one.
Cutthroat was the exact same way. I still remember all these people posting about Cutthroat on Reddit. Oh my god, if only they could make Cutthroat, PvP will come back, and blah blah blah. And then they release a 24-hour Cutthroat league that has 13 players after like 30 minutes. It's like, yeah, I don't think you're gonna be playing Elemental Hit. Hey, like that would probably give them an opportunity to actually catch up, right? It's not like they need much to rebalance these skills back into the meta, you know?
I feel like if they listen to Reddit, the next 2 years are just going to be Breach League.
Yep. Yeah, but that's like the worst part, right? That you always have to outdo yourself in a way. So now if it's not Breach, it's like no matter what they do, it's going to be a disappointment. And I mean, Breach was like, I was doing a Strand, and in the Strand there were 300 mobs. Right, but then I did a breach in the Strand, and the breach itself had 340. So like, how can you really not enjoy that, right? And they're running at you too.
What if they just for a league, big change, unnerfed AOE changes? Then it's basically getting 20, 30 new skills. It's big.
AOE, man. Dude.
AOE is like,
oh, it's so painful.
I mean, like, that's like watching Tectonic Strike. Like, before the league, I was recommending Tectonic Strike. I was like, okay, if they're gonna make a conditional skill based on charges, right? Like, think something like discharge, right? You expend the charges, they're all gone, and you get this big, juicy like multiplier to like your damage, right? It's actually insane how much damage you get per charge, and that makes sense, right? Because then you have to build your character entirely around charge generation. And I was like looking at Tectonic, I was like, you guys should go Tectonic Strike, because I mean, it's AoE tagged, right? It's nice. It's new, so I'm not going to make it like completely poop, because new skill gems are arguably one of the most hyped things in any league. And then like expending endurance charges for like more little fissures, like Ziggy was saying, like what if they're just more random, like spreading out. I was thinking it would be like some crazy AoE if you expended charges really fast And then like you look at it and you're like, oh man, this is just
when you put
very
it like
small.
It's sad. Like it's a perfectly fine skill, but when you think about what it could have been like that, I'm like,
yeah. And that's even with like Jug AoE and stuff like that.
It's one thing which really irritates me though, because I've had this argument a few times with people, and they're like, it's not about just increasing a number by 3, Tarke, and it's like, you know how everyone's playing Reeve now because they gave it like 3 base AoE, and now it's actually really good. There are so many skills. Like I'm currently playing my like Trapper, and the reason why it feels kind of slow isn't because of I'm a Trapper, it's because Ice Trap has baby fucking AoE. If I'm doing like tight layouts like Toxic Sewer and stuff, it feels fine. And it's literally just the second you go in a slightly open zone, it's like, I now need to attack 3 times rather than just once. And I don't know why we can't have good AoE when we have good projectiles. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
I mean, we've got skills that still need AoE buffs desperately. Look at Vortex, for example. Vortex is like just sitting there like super baby AoE. Just you can't really do anything with it because they haven't touched it since the AoE changes.
Hey, Lightning Tendrils is a really cool skill if you don't mind attacking things 3 millimeters away from your face. Like that's like another thing as well. Like the fact they reworked Lightning Tendrils, released it, didn't buff the damage on it, didn't buff the AoE, and it's like, why did you even bother? And they made Stormburst, released Stormburst. It had good damage. Reddit said, this is insane. They went, oh shit, that's actually too powerful. Nerf it. Never raise the damage again. And it's been a dumpster new skill. And it's been out for like 2 or 3 leagues. And there are a lot of skills which are playable if you give it like +3 base AoE, slightly like raise the base crit. Like that's all you have to do. And that is fucking frustrating.
I mean, it seems like Stormburst is like a single target type of thing, except like all the good like the best lightning skill for clear is Spark, and then you need to increase projectile speed for it, which ruins your overlap on Stormburst. So like what do you do?
I feel like Tectonic Strike is a response to all the people who only like sit in POB. It's like the perfect skill. Because I bet it looks real good in POB. You can get like many millions of damage. And they just release it and it works. It's the same reason why they didn't release a video for that. But they did release a video for the shield throw. And in the video for the shield throw, the guy had crazy clear speed, you know? So it's like, it's a reaction to it.
It's like, if you ever want to see how bad AoE's gotten now, so we'll talk about Elementalist in a bit, because that's kind of become a bit of a hot topic now. But people were saying, oh, Elementalist is really good if they make Ignite do damage again. Go into Path of Building, look at AoE. The Beacon of Ruin Prolif range is 12. 12 is the same base AoE of Fireball. Put a level 1 Fireball into Path of Building, look at the AoE it gives you. It is so unplayable. Even if Ignite was like the best thing in the world, the Ignite Prolif range of Elementalist is so dumpster, no one would use it.
People are realizing that Elementalist is actually good though, because Beacon of Ruin, turns out that 20% scales with ailment effect.
Of course it does. I'm so angry about that because this was like everybody was like, Raiz, what are you gonna play? I'm on trading. I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna roll an Elementalist, and everybody's like, whoa, fucking idiot! You're gonna play an Elementalist? I'm like, yeah, I'll play an Elementalist. And then suddenly now people are like, oh wait a minute, Elementalist is actually pretty good.
Well, it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear if like if you still had to hit the 1% threshold in order to get that up to 20%. So,
what
like,
do you mean? Because you always get it. It's like, it's self-explanatory, no?
Well, you don't shock in the like. Normally, without that node, you don't shock. Like, if you do 1 damage with lightning and you crit, you don't shock in the first place because you don't hit the threshold to increase your damage. So the shock just is thrown away. But Beacon of Ruin ignores that. It turns out. So.
I don't know. To me, that was like pretty clear. And like Impulsas is in the game, so like what the fuck? How can you have a problem with Elementalist? I was literally playing like Arc Elementalist last league, and it was fucking crazy just because Impulsa just destroys everything, and you can scale it so easily. Like, people think Gladiator and stuff like that is OP with its 10%, right? But you basically can't scale global physical damage like you can, and it still one-shots everything. But with lightning damage, you can even like penetrate with resistances and everything. It just blows the whole screen up. So I don't know. Elementalist is like the craziest thing ever, but then everybody was so against it.
And then when you have the fire complex, you can actually ignite with the Impulse's explosion. And that's 10% base. And you can scale that pretty high, so... That's actually going to be a decent ignite, surprisingly.
Yeah, people are saying ignites are actually working now. I really want to try it out with the new ring and everything. I think it's going to work. I don't know. But then Tarke says the AoE is tiny, so I don't know. I mean, the regular prolif is 16%, right? So as long as you've got enough damage, you just slap that shit on. Does it even have a penalty anymore? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't have a penalty anymore. There's actually there's one which is it's called like Ignite Proliferation, which is a damage multiplier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is one problem that Prolif had in 3.0, which was the AoE nodes on the tree were increased area of effect of area skills. And they changed that in 3.1. I don't think they said this anywhere, but they got rid of the area skills part. So
now it scales like everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's including prolif range, which isn't a lot, but it's still something.
Well, because before you could also scale prolif range, but you couldn't scale the prolif on Elementalist, and now you can. Yeah, just to be clear. Also, the elemental proliferation is apparently 10 base. I'm reading on the wiki. I don't know about the fire prolif.
I think the Elementalist node says 12. Also, for the people in chat saying you're forgetting the 75% big, if you go... I made a video on this. If you input... So someone just open up Path of Building, put in Elementalist, select Viable Level 1, put increased AoE on it, take all the AoE nodes on the tree, equip a Carcass Jack, and then add an additional 75% AoE to the Carcass Jack to simulate as if you always had the Elementalist buff up. All of that combined will still be about less than 18, roughly.
Actually, the elemental proliferation is only 10 radius, while the ignite proliferation is now 14 to 16. It gets 16 at 20. And I mean, 16 with scaling, you can get it pretty big. So you can easily get like 22.
Still not as big as the old times where you could get it to like 32 or something ridiculous.
I mean, it started at 32. It was base was 32, I'm pretty sure. So it was something stupid like that.
Like, I think it's kind of a big issue though, because this kind of gets like memed about a lot. Is that when you compare all of this, you need to remember that last league we had Light Poacher, and Light Poacher got added to the core game. So it's not like they're against AoE or speed clear. That's what I find so weird, is it's like the game promotes speed clear. Speed clear is fine, so why can't we have speed clear for AoE?
Hold on, you just talked about AoE and then you brought up Light Poacher, which is projectile.
That's what I mean. Okay, they nerfed
it's effectively AoE.
Yeah, they nerfed AoE because we can't have good clear speed skills.
Okay.
They then make Light Poacher, which is the craziest boost to clear speed in the world, and then they're like, you know, it's fine. And they just keep giving more ways of getting additional projectiles. When they nerfed AoE, they actually buffed the AoE on Kinetic Blast. Kinetic Blast went from 10 to 14. I mean, Light Poacher's still good, though.
Yeah, but they weren't really like, this is fine. They were like, oh, this is not fine. just to be, clear.
I've heard Light Poacher is like really bad now. I should probably check that, because I have like 4 of them right now.
It's still a full screen if you're playing EK.
Oh yeah, if you have enough proj
speeds. It's not 2, but it's a full screen, and you don't have to really scale it that much further.
I mean, it's probably still really good on Deadeye.
Yeah.
Even if
it's only 20% less, right? It's only 20% less damage than what it was before.
Well, I think they also downscaled the crit, and they lowered the proj speed and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was like 6 before. Or 7. It was 7.
The crit was 7. I couldn't believe it was 7. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. So now it's like probably 5 or maybe even 6. I mean,
it is 6. I just put one on.
Yeah. It's good. I'm trying to find the old prolif, like how big the AoE was, but it doesn't say the new thing. It only says.
I'm pretty sure it was 16.
The really old one?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was with scaling and with the multiplicative
and the
AoE.
And the prolif on Elementalist was like 12 or 14?
No. I'm talking way back. I'm talking discharge prolif way back. I'm talking fire trap prolif.
Yeah.
It was like 32, no? I'm pretty sure it was 32 or like 36.
Chat's saying it was 32. Chat was saying it's 32. But anyway, we could circle jerk about AoE for a really long time, but I just want to say, I think it's dumb that we have projectiles, which is fine, like projectiles are fun, but that we can't have that plus AoE. But, so, shuffling on from that, since the Sextant thing has gone into effect, this is mostly just going to be like a CuteDog talks about Sextants for a bit. How is, like, map sustain feeling and all of that good stuff with the Sextant rework?
It's fine. Map sustain is fine. Like, not even joking. It's like if you want to sustain any yellow, most reds you can. Like I'm doing barrel chambers, 2 Sextants, 1 blocking, just alchemy and go, and it's like growing my map pool just like last league. And then you can watch like Empyrean Gaming. He's doing a test on red maps, T14s, 15s. And he is having big sustains, like just easy mode sustains. So in those 2 instances, which most people are going to get to at some point, nobody cares about whites, right? Because that's like, you can just make them blue. Yellows and reds are easy to sustain. I think people are forgetting the fact that like it's always like this early, right? People complain about map sustain and stuff like that very early in the league, and then later on you have like a quad tab for the map you want. And that's because like your Atlas bonus, it starts really small. And as you like unlock, 1%, 5%, 10%, it's not like instantly your map pool's like, it takes time for that percentage to catch up. So for newer players or people that are concerned, if you want to sustain whatever map, you can. And anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about.
I mean, one of the things is that I'm pretty sure I'm still pretty sure they nerfed Encroaching Darkness, and I feel like the unique maps kind of helped with that, and plus it's kind of like slowing down your Atlas progression, because, you want those unique maps for the bonus, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely nerfed Encroaching Darkness. I think they also, there was that one line in the patch notes where they said they've modified like divination cards, but everybody thought, I guess, that they like moved them around and stuff, which they kind of did. But they've definitely nerfed like humility drops and encroaching darkness drops, especially encroaching darkness. It's so noticeable.
I haven't noticed humility.
I noticed humility, and I haven't had a single encroaching darkness. Like I haven't played loads. Like I've got 2 level 70s and like level 87. So like, I've barely like fucking played this league because re-roll 24/7 cat, but they definitely noticed it. Like humility, I didn't finish my SSF tabula till like nearly 73, and there are people in my stream who are like 77, 78 before they finish their tabula.
I was so angry because I was running that and I was like 73. I was like 72 and like 80%. I'm just like, fucking hell, how unlucky can I get with this tabula farming, blah, blah, blah. And then as people started catching up, they're like, yeah, I'm 75. I got 6 cards, like other people are talking about. I'm just like, whoa, guess I did get lucky, And that's on a summoner where you're like clicking everything while your stuff is killing mobs. But if you're just like trying to go through the zone and only get the cards, yikers.
I mean,
if they did nerf Encroaching Darkness, that's a real shame, because that card was like single-handedly fixing the design of the Atlas as far as unique maps is concerned. Because unique maps on the Atlas just don't work. So that card kind of like helped fix that. You actually get uniques as you're playing the Atlas with that card. But if we're not seeing it, then come to think about it, I don't think I've gotten any.
It's obliterated completely. You like notice when you're like level 85 and you're finally like, wait a minute, I think I didn't find a single encroaching darkness, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, I did it actually, yeah.
I'm 94 and I've finished like 3 sets, and I have almost all my yellow maps done.
Oh.
And I have a red pool at this point. But like, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
While you try and remember what you were saying, so people keep asking me what I feel about alk maps, like alks and nets. Is this a meme? Like, are nets replacing our currency? Are people noticing it? Because apparently that's a thing that I need to be aware of. Apparently the nets are taking over all my alchemies.
Alright, I feel like I gotta step into this one. PSA, guys. Actual currency drops in the game fucking suck, alright? Having played a couple of leagues of SSF and then moving on every league to the trade league, it's a fucking nightmare. You could never sustain alchemies unless you were using sextants, at least a single one. Like, this was never a thing. It's just everybody was just mass spamming breaches and sextants and shit, so you could sustain alchemies, but the game's been like this forever. Like, it's been so long. Ever since, like, even the Vol Fireball days. If you roll your maps with Chaos, alchemies you could never ever sustain. The only reason why it's, like, playable now is because people are switching to, Underground Sea that has like an alchemy map, and it's got like density boosted up too. So if you're running fast maps with not that many mobs, like many people are running Estuary as their T14 just because it has a lot of mobs, and that way you can kind of do something. But it's like, it's always been like this. It's always been the same thing. I don't know. Abyss dropped currency. People didn't like to give it credit, but it dropped currency. Breach was
I think that's like the biggest thing
currency.
is that Bestiary doesn't add that many like extra monsters. So we went from Harby, which gave us loads of extra currency, then Abyss, which gave us loads of extra currency, then a league which just doesn't rain free mobs. So people are like, nets. You know.
I mean, everybody's gonna pick up a belt because like it takes up so little of your inventory space. So even if it's bad, you just vendor it, and like the more stuff you vendor, you're gonna get more alks. Like I had like 110 alks at one point, and I'm playing SSF, so obviously I'm like dropping down now because I'm like heavily alking maps to start up my red pool properly. But I mean, part of it I feel like is people were trying out doing maps non-shape strat instead of shape strat, and shape strat is like, it's still easier to sustain a shape strat, even though they got rid of the sextant blocking, because you can use white sextants on T11 maps, and sometimes in some cases even T12 maps. It's like, it like really didn't do anything to get rid of sextant blocking. It's just, you get better efficiency out of doing shape strat still.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are some pretty crazy, like, once you get into the rares, I feel like, into the reds, it's like, there are maps that are just nuts, but, like, they're completely unsustainable in the current state, so for every, like, 3 maps, you're gonna have one, maybe, that is crazy, like a Crimson Temple or something like that, where it's got, like, a lot of density. But that's, also, like, unfeasible.
Also, Elder Portals still drop maps. How did that make it? I really don't understand. And it's also really a lot easier to like shape around Elder and like decide what you want to shape based on where you spawned your Elder and control Elder in those areas than it is to do it in a non-shape strat. So
yeah.
So how do we feel about like Sextants then? So are we like happy with the change? Do there need to be more to it? Like, what do you reckon?
They need to completely change the system. Sextants in the current state, like either you make them not drop maps or you completely change the system.
Would you agree with that, CuteDog?
I like Sextants. I think they're fine. I mean, the current version kind of sucks that most people will only be able to get 3, right? Like going through, getting all memory fragments for one, and then you know, completion of all the colors in a certain set is kind of annoying. But if you think about like actual numbers, like if I want to run 3 Sextants on Barrel Chambers, I can, and that's, you know, before if I was running 5, sure, I lose like, what is that, like 40% of the extra monsters if I did the math right there. It's not that big a deal, but it's still super worth using.
I mean, the thing is, the Sextant change basically made it so that the maps in the top and the bottom, like where you don't get a lot of Sextant blocking, those become better in comparison to, you know, the other maps now, where like Vault had like 1 billion Sextant blocks. Maybe that's like equal to Estuary now, where you don't get a lot of Sextants and you don't get like any blocking.
Since chat's having some fun with quantity, what do we think about the Bisco change? I had a really nice YouTube comment yesterday where he said that he's quitting the game because of the changes to quants and sextants. He says that I think roughly he said he started playing in Harby, and then since the rework of sextant and quantity, the game just doesn't feel the same anymore, and it's no longer fun for him. So, do we agree that the game is no longer fun now that you can only get a 50% Bisco?
I think the game's still fun. I think it's fine. You know, like if I look at the tests from last day, I did like 3 or 4 different tests of like 50 to 100 maps each without Biscos. If I get like 300 chows equiv right from just the Biscos, and I take those numbers as somewhat accurate, and now I get like 150 per 50 maps, it's still pretty good, right? Right?
I mean,
I think it's fine.
I feel like the Bisco change basically makes it so that now instead of a Bisco, you want a Shaper Amulet with 10 quant and other stats. So. I mean, it's basically it's gotten a lot closer to that level. Also, the whatever the amulet is called, aesthetic, is what I'm gonna go with, that you get from the prophecy.
Aesthetic.
Yeah. That becomes a lot more competitive.
I think it's a shame about Sextants. Everybody, when the Sextant thing happened, everybody was like, I hope you're fucking happy, Raiz. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't like what they did. What we talked about where Carve brought up his solution a couple Baeclasts ago. I thought that was genius with locking maps and everything, and it fixed literally every single issue, and CuteDog would have had his cake, and all the people who, didn't enjoy the clunkiness in certain situations of Sextants would have had their cake too. Such a brilliant solution to reduce Sextants to something that is basically non-existent. Like, I don't know. It's just not that great, I think.
Okay,
right. I mean, if CuteDog's still having fun, then I guess that's fine, right?
Raiz, I have a suggestion for you. Since you've just come into some money with your second place prize pool, how about you fly Carve to New Zealand for the good of the game? Let him have a week fun with GGG, give some tips on the Atlas system, and then we can all remember that Raiz, in the hardship of Bestiary League, sent a prophet to the Chosen Land to give knowledge bombs and high IQ.
You remind me of something, but I can't remember what it is. I'll drop it in a second. Give me a moment.
While you're at it, why not? While you're at it, make sure you don't buy a make sure it's a one-way ticket so he stays there and keeps helping him out.
We don't want him back.
Talking deportation here. Damn.
Yeah, but it's for a good cause.
For a good cause.
Yeah.
But yeah, the core issue is still that white sextants affecting red maps and like T10s and all that. You just get 3 times the efficiency out of, because like if you wanted to use yellow sextants on red maps, then you have to vendor up those white sextants. Core issue's still there.
Yeah, there definitely needs some work for it, and for the people in like chat asking about like major Atlas strategies and stuff, I'm gonna try and plan for the next episodes to get people on like Grimro and CuteDog and NP and try and do like a full episode around like pure Atlas once people have had more than a week messing around with the new league and stuff. So just to kind of like summarize up, what did people think of the Ascendancy rework then, since that was kind of a big deal? Were we happy? Was it a successful thing? Since people are now thinking Elementalist is potentially PogChamp, does that mean that the Ascendancy rework was a massive success, or what do we think?
I think it's a lot more successful than it initially looked like, because initially it kind of like you could see that they were accomplishing things, but generally it looked like, oh, okay, most things are going to remain good at what they're doing. Jug is still gonna run lab, Deadeye's still gonna do Deadeye things, and Inquisitor is the crit thing and all that. And like the more we play it, I feel like people are discovering new things, and overall, it's been a much bigger success than I initially gave it credit to, and I liked it. You know, that's my thoughts.
I still don't like Inquisitor's design of just ignoring all resistances and all the resistance mods on the like maps and stuff. So like when you're in a meta where the best thing to do is to run maps and run maps fast, where you can ignore a ton of map mods by running Inquisitor and just ignoring any elemental resistance, any elemental equilibrium, any like endurance charges. It's just kind of like, it makes it so that in order to like compete with that, you have to have like a ton of pen available. And it's just, I really don't like that design. I feel like that I'd still like to see Inquisitor reworked. I'm sure they could like do something where it's like the resistance penetration or whatever, like it stacks up as you hit, so it's like a ramp up thing on single target. But I don't know, I just don't like that design.
Yeah,
I mean, it always made sense to me, but what kind of, well, you have to try so much harder. Like, that's the thing. As every other class, you have to, I feel, try so much harder to accomplish what Inquisitor has, like just kind of by default. Maybe if availability of crit would be a little bit different, then it would feel differently. But it's like so easy to get very close to crit cap that it doesn't feel like it. Like, people don't even know, but you actually have to crit to like get the penetration. If you don't, then you don't actually do anything. But because you crit every time anyway, it's like completely disregarded, you know?
Well, it's basically, the problem with Inquisitor is that you basically get rid of the pen gem for a crit gem, which a lot of people would already be using this gem if they were playing another class, but they need pen as well. So you basically gain a link out of it. And on top of that, like, I guess you could still have it in the game, but like the small nodes on the way there, they give so much crit multi. And then on top of that, it also has another multiplier in the aura.
See, people are gonna hate me for this, but I think there's like a serious problem with crit. And it's not crit in general, like crit is fine, it's just crit on the skill tree is fucking ridiculous. Because it's like, when you think about it, all these other ascendancies like always benefit from penetration, right? They always benefit from like any source of like increased damage as they can. But in terms of like scaling crit, you've got the crit gem, right? It's a gem for crit that gives you multiplier, which should be like a main link for crit. And it's like one of the worst things in the game that you can put on a character because you get so much multiplier from the skill tree. So it's like, that in itself is, in my opinion, pretty indicative that, you know, maybe they need to buff the gem or something. But if you're not using the crit gem, like you're playing a pen ascendancy and you're not using the pen thing because it's too weak. I just feel like that doesn't really fit. And that all of that ties into, you know, Inquisitor still being oftentimes the better choice over, you know, something like. I don't know, Hierophant for totems, right? Even though Hierophant is supposed to be the totem thing. It's like, my girlfriend's dying, apparently. I'll be right back.
I think one of the big issues with Inquis is that I don't necessarily care that it can ignore resist. I just think it's weird that it's one of the best bossing from a damage point of view and one of the best mapping ascendancies from an attack speed point of view. Like, I'd be fine if it just had the pen, or if it, like, just had Instruments of Virtue. It just seems really weird that you'd get an Ascendancy, give it, like, loads of attack speed, and also loads of free damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, like, everything combines, like, yeah, you get this one thing, and it's great, you could specialize in this one thing, but then Inquisitor, you can specialize in all of it and get all this bonus attack speed and cast speed, and it's like, well, why would I do this instead?
Yeah, I think that's just like the weird things about it.
And like the numbers this league don't really represent it well, I feel like, because like everybody's bored of playing Inquisitor. Like there were so many Inquisitors in the last league, and it's like It's like people want to do something different, all this Ascendancy revamps, and then Inquisitor's sitting there unchanged. So why, like, I want to mess around with these new Ascendancy points. Why would I play another Inquisitor? But even if it's better,
I just think it's like dumb because like people saying like, oh, isn't every Ascendancy like that? I just think it's really weird that you can have something like Chieftain, which has like no attack speed on it, and then you'll have someone like CuteDog will never play a Chieftain because Chieftain doesn't have attack speed, so it's shit for mapping. Like, the amount of power you get from some Ascendancies just because they happen to have attack speed, or like you've got a Deadeye in your group and Deadeye just gives loads of like attack speed. It's just like, it's such an arbitrary way. You could have an Ascendancy which gave literally no damage, but if it gave more attack speed than every other option, you would have people running it, because if you get a good enough build, just shove like Headhunter on it, and then, well, this has more attack speed, so it's the fastest mapper. And most people map. Like, so it's whatever. I don't know.
Inquisitor aside, on the original question of how we feel about the Ascendancy changes overall, I really, really like what they did with Ascendancies overall on this. I think it's probably not enough time yet even for us to have really kind of... I like what Raiz said, where it's better than we initially thought. Not enough time yet to have really dove into a lot of this stuff. I feel like there's still so much to be discovered. It's like everyone's kind of on the initial hype ones at the moment, and then over time they're going to start to percolate down into all of the other Ascendancies. We're going to start seeing a lot of cool stuff. And it's almost to the point like it doesn't even really matter that they didn't tackle skill gems this league. I know people are disappointed about that, but they can do that next league. The Ascendancy stuff I feel like is far more impactful and interesting. And I think they did it the right way as well for the most part, where it's like power plus interesting. Those two things combined together. If you're going to buff something, that's the way to do it at least. And I mean, like, Juggernaut was always, you know, good at what it did. It was danky, thick jug dude. But I never felt interested in playing Juggernaut. And Juggernaut was my first choice this league because I was like, oh shit, that's actually interesting and cool. And a lot of these changes also, they're changes that you feel. Like, they're changes that make you feel like your class has an identity, that you feel in some sort of gameplay sense, which is the big problem with Pantheon. As a side note, like the fact that you don't feel anything from any of the Pantheons. So like now you play Juggernaut, Yeah. But now you're playing like a Juggernaut now, and you're like intentionally taking hits, you know, making sure that you're getting hit by small things in boss fights. So you got that endurance charge generation happening. You're seeing that happen. You're seeing your endurance charges just get pumped up after you take some big hits. Like that's really freaking cool. So I think they did that really well. Some positivity out of all of Assault this podcast.
To be honest, I think we haven't actually been that salty, really.
It's really interesting how, you know, they really didn't change up the meta, and a lot of people got upset, and I feel like a lot of people left because it's already been like 2 or maybe even 3 leagues of basically the same meta. And yet it works, you know. I'm having a lot of fun with the league, and if you disregard the league mechanics, I think you can too. But it's like people were okay with Abyss, right? They were okay, but did anybody like really, oh my god, I love Abyss, this is the best league ever, I'm only playing this long because it's Abyss? Like, I don't feel like that was ever the case. And people didn't complain about it nearly as much as the Bestiary thing. So maybe if it was paired up with like a little bit more of an obvious meta change outside of just the Ascendancy rebalancings, maybe then people will be overall a little bit more satisfied with the situation.
Yeah, like I definitely think that there's a lot to be said for obvious power.
The only other Ascendancy I still have a problem with, and it's kind of weird to say it because, you know, I always play Necro, but I still have a problem with Necro. Like, at least they got golems out of Necro. Like, people only played the Elementalist Golemancer because, like, you could just suicide on a boss, and then the golems kill the boss, and then they fixed that, and then everybody went to Necromancer because it has 1 billion minion damage on the tree. So why would you ever go anything else? And that's probably the only other like Ascendancy I have a problem with at this point still, and I'd really like to see reworked because, you know, I saw the Deadeye thing where blink and mirror cooldown. I'm like, oh my god, I really want to use this for a summoner. I really hope they add more minion damage on the tree so I can get enough minion damage to make it better than Necromancer, and no, I can't.
Yeah, but I mean, that makes sense. I think like it doesn't make sense that you can't just Necro is the Necro guy.
I mean,
Jug
sure.
Jug is the tanky guy. To me it kind of makes sense in that way. Because summoners are such a niche thing anyway, you know?
I just don't like certain builds like being more pigeonholed into like certain ascendancies. Like, you know, you can do like you look at Sunder as an example. You can do that on a whole bunch of different ascendancies. Not because of the power of the skill, it's because a lot of ascendancies can do different bonuses for it. Like #1 on SSF is a Raider Sunder character. But you could do that build as like Juggernaut, Slayer, Gladiator, any of those. And that's all I'm saying. Like, I'd like to see minion builds be able to use other ascendancies.
I guess that's the difference between niche and kind of general gameplay style, like mechanical thing, though. I guess it's late. I can't word, but you know, Sunder is melee. It's generic melee basically, whereas Summoner is in the end niche. So I guess that's gonna happen. It's like, you know, Trapper is, you got 1 or 2 ascendancies you're mostly going to do that with as well. Mind builds, same deal. So it's kind of the same for any of those niche setups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since I can tell that CuteDog is turning into Kenny, Ziggy's falling asleep, and Raiz has got people dying in the flat with him, I think we'll probably start wrapping up. I would just like to thank everyone for staying up late after the race today to join us, and we'll do another one of these again soon. Does anyone have anything they desperately want to get out there before we finish up today?
Support the racing stuff.
Yeah, possible new racing stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That's great.
I'm uploading the VODs from the race. If you didn't catch them, check them out. You can just watch the Twitch VOD as well if you prefer. It was super hype. I really enjoyed doing that racing today, and we got Chris and so many of the ZiggyD devs hyped up as well. Like a lot of them were apparently tuning in from home, and ended up doing a little interview with Chris at the end, and he seemed super hyped. So we might get some cool racing stuff out of it. But also just like, I guess the other thing I want to say is like thank you as well to everyone who like hyped that shit up while it was live, because that got it on, you know, got racing back on GGG's radar, I think. The fact that like 12k people showed up to get really excited about the race. So
yeah,
I mean,
really impromptu too.
It's like cultivated on the Chinese servers in a way now, right? And it was really interesting to see, because part of the interview that you had with Chris, he was like, well, not that many people were interested, but like they weren't really doing anything to increase interest. And if you look at it, like sure, the main realm has like a long-standing history with racing, and there were still 12,000 people. But if you looked over at the Chinese stream, I think it peaked at like 47,000 people on that stream. So, and that's, you know, that's people who are just now getting exposed to racing. Many people in like the international realm, I don't know what to call it, main realm, international realm, you know, they don't really remember, they don't know what racing is and what race seasons are, because it's been so long. So I think, you know, if we could get that spark going the same way they did on the Chinese realm, I think it might have big potential. So what I'm trying to say is, chat, step up your fucking game, alright? And, you know, get talking about this stuff, and hopefully GG can do more, because clearly people enjoy it. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to more racing. Even if it's gonna be like Sunder meta, I would still practice it. I miss racing a lot, and it was really cool to see that many people watching the races too. So clearly the interest is there, and that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank everyone for coming on, and you can now start heading off to sleep.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.